Good morning. My name is Pranava Swaroop and I'm from SVCA College of Engineering, CSE Department 7 Sem Bhaskara section. And today we're going to talk about OSI model. What is OSI model? The Open System Interconnection, that is OSI model, describes seven layers that computer systems use to communicate over a network. It was the first standard model for network communications adopted by all major computer and telecommunication companies in the early 1980s. The modern internet is not based on OSI, but on the simple TCP/IP model. However, OSI's seven-layer model is still widely used as it helps visualize and communicate how networks operate and help isolate and troubleshoot networking problems. OSI was introduced in 1983 by representatives of the major computer and telecom companies and was adopted by ISO as an international standard in 1984. So let's see all the seven layers of the model. Here are the seven layers. That is, first is application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. So application layer deals with human computer interaction layer where applications can access the network system services. Presentation layer, it ensures that data is in usable format and is where data encryption occurs. And in session layer, it maintains connections and is responsible for controlling port and sessions. Transport layer transmits data using transmission protocols including TCP and UDP. Network layer decides which physical path the data will take. Data link layer defines the format of data on network, and physical layer transmits a raw bit stream over the physical medium. Now we'll discuss each and every layer in detail. Now, application layer. The application layer is used by end user software such as web browsers and email clients. It provides protocols that allow software to send and receive information and present meaningful data to users. A few examples of application layer protocols are the hypertext transfer protocol, that is HTTP, file transfer protocol FTP, post office protocol POP, simple mail transfer protocol as SMTP, and domain name system, that is DNS. Next we have presentation layer. The presentation layer prepares data for the application layer. It defines how two devices should encode, encrypt, and compress data so it is received correctly on the other end. The presentation layer takes any data transmitted by the application layer and prepares it for transmission over the session layer. Next, we have the session layer. The session layer creates communication channels called sessions between devices. It is responsible for opening sessions, ensuring they remain open and functional while data is being transferred, and close them when communication ends. The session layer can also set checkpoints during a data transfer. If the session is interrupted, devices can resume data transfer from the last checkpoint. Next is transport layer. The transport layer takes data transferred in the session layer and breaks it into segments on the transmitting end. It is responsible for reassembling the segments on the receiving end, turning it back into data that can be used by session layer. The transport layer carries out flow control, sending data at the rate that matches the connection speed of the receiving device, and error control, checking if data was received incorrectly and if not, request it again. So here, if the data received is not complete or if there's any packet loss, it will request the layer to resend the data. Next, we have network layer. The network layer has two main functions. One is breaking up segment into network packets and reassembling the packets on the receiving end. The other is routing packets by discovering the best path across a physical network. The network layer uses network addresses, typically Internet Protocol addresses. It uses network addresses to route packets to a destination node. And next we have data link layer. The data link layer establishes and terminates a connection between two physically connected nodes on a network. It breaks up packets into frames and sends them from source to destination. This layer is composed of two parts: logical link control, which identifies network protocols, performs error checking, and synchronizes frames, and media access control, that is MAC, which uses MAC address to connect devices and define permissions to transmit and receive data. And finally, we have the physical layer. The physical layer is responsible for the physical cable or wireless connection between network nodes. It defines the connector, the electric cable or wireless technology connecting the devices, for example, satellite communication or satellite connection. And it is responsible for transmission of raw data which is simply a series of zeros and ones while taking care of bit rate control. Now let's just take a look at all the layers in the side here. That's application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. And finally, thank you. Kindly like, share, and subscribe.